The base is dropped on a Saturday Power Hour edition of Soccer Down Here. My name's Jason Longshore, John Nelson alongside for half an hour. Hopefully Jarrett Smith jumps in at 11 o'clock with some of his thoughts. Tons of stuff from yesterday. NWSL upset of the league's history, maybe, with the North Carolina Courage getting knocked out by the Portland Thorns. Wild game that went to penalties at night with the Houston Dash getting through. I didn't expect that one either. MLS had some chaos, as MLS is prone to do. Colorado Rapids finished with 9 players and found an equalizer late, but still lost. All kinds of craziness. USL back on the field as well. We've got a game to call tonight on ESPN+. Atlanta United 2 and Memphis 901. John and I will be on the call for that. You can watch, as all of the USL matches are, you can watch on ESPN+. Where do you want to start, John?
Well, let's start with the upset of the century, I guess, and work our way forward.
This has come up, and I feel like it always comes up with these kinds of situations. This is the prime example of a goalkeeper standing on their head.
No doubt.
And I don't want to hear any excuses talk about it. That happened. If you saw this match, it was incredible. It was an incredible goalkeeping performance. It's seriously one of the best I have ever seen at any level. It's up there with... It's hard to put the Tim Howard Belgium game in this conversation because they lost, so it's not the same. It's Casey Keller against Brazil in '98 in the Gold Cup. But Britt Eckerstrom wasn't even the regular goalkeeper for the Portland Thorns. Bella Bixby had been very good in this tournament, and Eckerstrom comes in and is just insane. 8 saves. 8 saves, some massive saves, and you could just kind of feel it as the day went on that North Carolina was getting frustrated. Portland was gaining some confidence. It's what you see in these kinds of matchups all the time. The longer the underdog hangs around, the weirder things can get. Morgan Weaver gets the goal in the 68th minute. Rocky Rodriguez with the assist, and the Portland Thorns held on under a ton of pressure to advance to the semifinals.
And the funny part about it is that now the still of Eckerstrom reaching up for the save against the Dabinia free kick in the 80s has now been placed in every painting that you can imagine. I mean, now Britt Eckerstrom is helping out in the defense in Les Mis at the big battle scene with her arm up and extended the way that it has been. I've seen it in Les Mis. I've seen it in the Louvre. I've seen it as its own individual painting. I mean, it has been it's been hilarious to see where Britt Eckerstrom has been inserted into the history of art and life ever since this performance yesterday.
Right.
But for me, you're absolutely right. The more that you see Eckerstrom making these saves, the more that you're sitting there and you're thinking, yeah, she's having a day. Maybe this is going to happen. Maybe it's going to be the 8th seed working their way through. And sure enough, by the end of it all, the 8th seed works their way to the midweek, and you just sit there, you throw up your hands, and all you can do is one of these. Yep, you sit there and you applaud. Fantastic work. You stood on your head. You are now the Webster's definition of that phrase with that picture. Sometimes you get pictures when you're looking at things in dictionaries or encyclopedias. Now, standing on your head will now have that still of Britt Eckerstrom, and pick your pose here. That's going to be your graphic for it. Tremendous day for her, and great work by Portland to make their way through as the 8.
Goalkeeper's the hero in the nightcap as well. Jane Campbell, who I felt like didn't really have a good tournament for Houston. redeemed herself in the penalty shootout. 2 saves in it. Houston goes through over Utah, but there was a lot going on in this match and a lot of comments coming out afterwards. One of them from James Clarkson, who's the manager of the Houston Dash, not happy with the referee. It was an extremely physical match, and I thought the inconsistency of the way it was being called was a massive problem. Remember, this is the manager who won and is advancing into the semifinals. Clarkson said, I'm actually more concerned about the quality of the refereeing, and that's part of the problem. That's why the game got physical, and honestly, I'm sick to death of it. It was a clear red card in the first half. That would have changed the game, and too many fouls not given. Too many things let slide. Meg Oyster's now in hospital. She may have some fractured ribs, and she tweeted out that she did have a fractured rib. These sorts of things, it's happened too often, and unfortunately, we're always on the back end of it. We always get the decisions go against us. I'm sure I'll get a note from Pro tomorrow saying, oh yeah, sorry, we made a mistake on that. That's wonderful, but that happens in nearly every single game, every single season, and it's unfortunate, but credit to the players. They dealt with it. Their emotional control tonight was absolutely outstanding. They dealt with it, they fought, they dug in, they continue to do it, and we work on this. I don't think people give us enough credit. And they don't. They don't. I don't know the history down to very specific details on Houston's ill will towards referees and feeling like they can't get a call. Been on that side of it. I've seen that before and know how that can go and how frustrating it can be. I guess it's not an excuse when they win,
yeah.
But this is part of the conversation. And I think in Houston's case, when games get physical, they're a team, and we've seen them in this tournament. They want to play. They want to play, and when the game gets physical, that's a disadvantage for them. The way certain teams want to play, the way a referee chooses to manage the game can help them or hurt them. It depends on the team. It depends on the referee. Daniel Chasky was the referee in this one, and there was the call at the top of the 18 early in the match. There was a play late that I think was correct in a yellow only, but it was about as cynical as it gets as Rachel Daly's breaking through. Just the physicality of it. I mean, it was out of hand at the end. As you're going into stoppage time, it's just bodies flying everywhere. Luckily, no one was seriously injured. Megan Oyster does have fractured rib, and we'll see if she's able to go in the semifinal. But it's the same drum we've been beating for a while. The referee development has to continue to improve because, on the women's side, the NWSL, the level is very good. The pace of play is very good. The refereeing there is not as good as it needs to be. It doesn't match up with the level of play. And that, I think, is a consistent conversation at every level of American soccer right now.
Yeah, Megan, you mentioned her tweeting out. It was at the top of the hour. She says, thank you for all the love and thoughtful messages. Fractured a rib, but already feeling better. Waking up to a win helps. So proud of this team and our relentless fight in this tournament. And then she has in all caps, Jane equals an emoji that I've never seen before, so I'll take superhero.
Ay, Dios mío.
So, well, I had to look. I don't have my glasses on. I had to look at it real quick and get the larger copy of it. So, and hashtag semis, here we come. So that's what Megan said about 40 minutes ago on her Twitter feed. But yeah, I mean, to your point, it's one that, like you said, it's one that we've consistently had to sadly discuss. Is refereeing and quality and inconsistency, and this is just another example that we add to it.
Yeah, this match could have been better. I think it would have been different. I agree. I think you're probably looking at you're looking at some calls that would have changed the game, and they didn't. But Houston goes through. I do think Houston was the better team on the night. They deserve to go through. They do. Very different game than the 3-3 that they had that was wild and crazy in the group stage. This was wild and crazy in a completely different way. Scoreless, but the Houston Dash go through. Today, 2 games in the NWSL. Washington Spirit and Sky Blue at 12:30. Reign and Chicago Red Stars at 10 p.m. What are the numbers looking like on these?
Our friends at Odds Portal have Spirit at minus 123 at 12:30.
Okay.
Sky Blue is a plus 290, and this is winning in regulation.
Yeah.
And then,
well, there's no extra time.
Yeah, and then going straight to PKs after that. Then past 90 minutes, tied heading to PKs, it is a plus 244.
Okay.
The nightcap at 10 o'clock, Rain is at plus 181. Chicago is plus 124. And basically heading to PKs is plus 233.
I kind of like the PKs in the nightcap. I think that's going to be a really even one. Washington should win in the early game. We thought North Carolina Courage should win in the early game yesterday. Mm-hmm. I think Washington's a better team than Sky Blue, but Sky Blue found themselves towards the end of the group stage and were playing their best soccer now, and that should help them. I think it's down to that midfield disrupting everything Washington wants to do with McCall Zerboni and Jennifer Cujo. I like that pairing. I think it'll make it difficult for Rose Lavelle to find space to operate in. And I think Sky Blue's got enough of an attack to find a way through. They can pull the upset. Washington's the better team, but they've got to find a way to free up Lavelle away from Zerboni and Cujo. Because I think those two can make it difficult for Rose Lavelle to operate where she wants to operate. So if you can get her out wide from time to time, I think that's where Washington will have some success. We'll see how tactically they deal with it. Because Sky Blue finally hit on their best combination, and I think it's Zerboni and Cujo dominating the middle of the field.
And obviously, once again, every single time that we come on the show and discuss numbers and juice boxes, usually my thought, what do we always say?
I don't know. What do we always say?
Go to the opposite, because Nelson doesn't know what he's talking about. My initial thoughts looking at the matchups, I would have had, looking at the 123, I would have said, yes, the Spirit should be able to make their way through in 90 minutes. And then I'm with you. I was thinking that the nightcap was going to go to PKs. So once again, take my information and my thought pattern for the proverbial grain of salt, because traditionally it's usually the opposite.
Oh, it's over there. Sorry. What's going on, Harry Carey? He chimes in because the Chicago Tribune has the bonehead tweet of bonehead tweets.
Oh, I think I heard about this.
It was from last night. I'm just going to read the tweet to you. The picture is the Chicago Fire walking onto the field. And the tweet says, "The return of Major League Soccer and the Chicago Sting provides a welcome break from the coronavirus sports wasteland," writes columnist John Cass. Now, it says in the caption to the picture, too, Chicago Sting. I have reached my article limit, and maybe this is why I don't subscribe to the Chicago Tribune, because they keep calling the Chicago Fire the Chicago Sting.
I see no Karl-Heinz Granitza in that picture.
Jeez.
Okay, so I have the article up.
The headline on Twitter on the picture says Chicago Fire. The blurb underneath it says Chicago Sting. What does the article say?
The article column has Chicago Fire FC. And going down, okay, the article does say the beloved Chicago Fire FC as well. The Fire are back. So
I don't want to blame it on John Cass, because he might not have been putting these captions and these tweets together.
Yeah.
But, wow.
Yeah, that's a but wow. Every reference in the article is Fire and not Sting. So the individual who is in charge of the 280-character account is obviously stuck back in the days of the
Twitter
Sting.
Wasn't around in the Chicago Sting days. I mean, what in the world are you doing, people?
See, and that's the thing. If I'd known about this, if you were going to bring this up, I would have brought out my Chicago Sting T-shirt and worn it as kind of like an under-the-radar kind of a subliminal reference to the show this morning, because I've got one.
I know. You've got every North American Soccer League team. You've got a T-shirt from them. I know.
Correct. Because I was a mere waif when the league was there, and I actually can say, yeah, I saw the North American Soccer League play. So
I know.
Yeah.
All right, let's get into MLS from last night, because it was interesting. DC New England, not super interesting. 1-1. Higuain with a gift from De La Mea that equalizes it. Outside of that, DC was pretty bad. Sporting Kansas City was not good, but they won 3-2. They got some help because Colorado had a meltdown and had 2 red cards. But then they found an equalizer in the 84th minute, which was ridiculously bad from Kansas City. And then Kansas City got a deflected shot. I think it might have been on target. It might not have. It deflects in, and Graham Zusi is your match winner. It was absurd.
That's a word to use. And did you see on Twitter all of the notes about people wanting to see Eric Winalda coming out onto the pitch and starting fights and things like that?
Why was Winalda coming out on the pitch and starting fights? Why would you want that?
Well, because you're down to 9 men. It was U.S. Open Cup reference involving it.
Winalda didn't start any fights in that game. Let's not put any shade on Eric Winalda in that game.
But no, it was interesting to see the Atlanta fan base sit there and reference Open Cup.
Yeah, we got to get our references right, people. That was nothing like that, because that was the game with that one. It was both teams who were losing their minds, not just one. That match should have been 9v8 instead of 10. It was 10v9, and then I think later it turned into 10v8.
Yeah.
It should have been 9v8 at the initial incident. There's no excuse for a couple other red cards not being shown to the Rapids in that. It was not one-sided. This was one-sided. This was not both teams losing their minds. It was just one.
And I thought it was going to be Gustavo Bo scoring the goal for New England. It ended up being Buxa in the 50s. But yeah, Sporting in Colorado was absolutely crazy. And then you had RSL in Minnesota as your MLS is back after dark for a goalless draw, which gets us to the 2 matches tonight.
Yeah, kind of canceled each other out in that RSL Minnesota game. Nothing on the board there. Games tonight, both I think have the potential to be entertaining ones. Portland and Houston, and LAFC and the LA Galaxy. Call it El Trafico if you like. I guess some people get really bent out of shape about either calling it that or not calling it that, or whatever. I don't like the name. I never have, but if that's what it is, it's what it is. I don't care. We know what the game is. The Galaxy are plus 375 according to BetMGM.
Okay, a little less according to our friends in the aggregated odds portal. Galaxy are plus 362. LAFC in the aggregate is at minus 156 for that one.
Okay, yeah, they're minus 154 on BetMGM. What's the draw?
Plus 330.
Yeah, I'll throw a juice box in that direction. I just don't think LAFC can defend anything.
I'm looking up the totals.
What's that?
I'm looking up the totals. I'm looking up over-unders here.
Okay.
Since we're discussing defenses.
Yeah, goals and a draw is where I'm at.
All right, so the number changes from the over from a minus to a plus at 3.25 to 3.5. So
what is it at 3.5?
Plus 103.
Yeah, I wouldn't touch it. I if I'm calling a score on it, I'll go 2-2. I think it'll be sloppy defensively. I think both teams are still trying to get their attack sorted out, but 2-2 is where I'm at.
Yeah, 1.5 is minus 854. 2.5 is minus 246. 3 is minus 163.
Okay, what about the early game with Portland and Houston?
Portland and Houston, efforting, sir, because I have to go backwards. The clicking back and getting the numbers here. All right, so Portland plus 124, Houston plus 194, and your draw is at plus 267.
I like Portland in this one. I do. I think Portland finds a way to win it. So I would just go straight up on Houston. Or on Portland, sorry. Houston to lose, Portland to win. What's the over-under numbers?
Changes from minus to plus. Your over-under of 3 is minus 101. Your 3.5 is plus 138.
Yeah, I'm going under, not touching it. So I've got Portland to win. I've got a draw in the LA match. Tomorrow's game, Chicago and San Jose, is the 8 o'clock. Seattle, Vancouver is the 10:30. I see a very large number next to Vancouver.
Okay, I have the aggregate number from Odds Portal of what does BetMGM say?
Plus 425.
Aggregate is plus 436 from Odds Portal.
I'm not touching it. No, I don't trust Vancouver at all, even after their madness against San Jose. I think some of that was self-inflicted from the Quakes. So staying away from that game. I think it could be ugly. Seattle has to find themselves in it because they've been ugly in this tournament. Chicago-San Jose could be a really sneaky good match. I'm looking forward to that Sunday night. San Jose's plus 185 according to BetMGM. Chicago's plus 135. I lean Quakes, but you could sell me on a draw there too. I'll go Quakes in a 3-2 match of weirdness.
Okay. Aggregate from our friends at Odds Portal. Chicago's at plus 133. San Jose's plus 179. And your draw is plus 268.
Okay. And then just to complete the trifecta, because we'll be coming on later on Monday, Miami NYC is the 9 a.m. match Monday morning. We'll be coming on after that. Miami's plus 230, New York City plus 110. Atlanta United fans are really cheering for the draw.
Yeah. And it looks like we're going to be coming on a little later most of the week because we got 9 a.m. games.
Tuesday, we're going to be on at the normal time because Tuesday I've got a match day. So we're not doing the later start time for us because I got, kind of a place to be.
Kind of busy?
Got to go to the Mercedes-Benz Stadium and get ready to do a game, and I don't want to have our show end and then run around. Yeah, more excuses. Sorry. I'm good at that.
Yeah. Well, good morning, Jarrett.
Good morning.
What's up, Jarrett?
I felt a tremor in the force, and I heard the Quakes being talked about, and it just
that's how it goes.
It was like it was a disturbance in the force, like 1,000 voices cried out in anguish at a 99th minute Shea Salinas solo run goal.
Hello.
That's how it goes.
It is. It's not a healthy way to live your life. I'm here to tell you, though.
Well, do they beat Chicago? Because that's the question.
Oh, that is a good question because this ain't your daddy Chicago.
That's going to be a fun game.
It is because a year ago, 2 years ago, that's when you're like, that's just that's two hobos with a knife fight where two teams you don't really expect much of. Now it's two fun teams, and things have changed. God bless you, Chicago, for turning
hiring soccer people.
Yeah, because aside from the 2017 season, first half of the year, where Chicago was the surprise leader going into the All-Star break in the Eastern Conference. Aside from that, Chicago has just been like a how-to guide on how not to do things, and I don't know who has that title now. Maybe Vancouver.
Yeah, right now they do.
Because I would have said Montreal at one point, but Montreal has at least made things fun. I don't know if I believe in Thierry Henry long term, but right now, okay, it's working.
It's looking good at the moment.
Yeah, and ride it. But yeah, I felt the disturbance in the force. You know what? I will take the Quakes just because of what they showed me the other night. I think if it comes down to everyone's tired at the end of the game, I think they can make something happen. And not to say Chicago can't, but
I think San Jose is built to play in chaos, and they were the first team in there. Fitness, I think, just being accustomed to the conditions, they'll be in a position to have more in the tank late, unless that last match took a lot out of them. That's the question we have to wait and see the answer to. All right, John, you've got...
that's such a good question, too.
Yeah,
so,
yeah, it's the part we won't know.
Move on, but it's that emotionally draining question.
Yeah. All right, John, you've got a couple more minutes. What do you want to finish with? Oh, John's left. He just dipped out and left us. Man.
Dang.
Seriously. Just disappears, grinning on the video, just grinning, hanging out. Leaves us.
And he's just, rude.
Yeah, seriously. That's kind of messed up. All right. Let's get John off the screen. Bye, John. Sorry. Let's get a still picture of Jarrett, since we don't have video from Jarrett today. Your Twitter profile picture will have to suffice.
That's all right. That's me being stalked by a penguin, so that's not bad.
Yeah, I mean, you look like you're looking at me very confusedly, which is completely fine, because I'm getting used to this. So it's all good.
That's fine.
All right. What did you think? Did you get a chance to check in on NWSL yesterday with the upset special in Game 1 and the fight at the OK Corral in Game number 2 where you got players with broken ribs?
Yeah, so Game 1, I felt foolish because, I think a lot of people, I had penciled in North Carolina Courage to just continue dominating women's soccer. And then, Portland's, what was she, third-string keeper?
Yeah.
Third-string goalkeeper just decides to stand on her head in a way that, what's a good comparison to what we saw? Is Tim Howard Belgium with fewer total saves but more amazing saves?
See, but they lost, so I'm not going to go there on that one since they lost.
That's fair. Right.
We are getting your audio up on Twitch because John broke everything as usual.
Oh. Well, maybe Guzan, the 2017 in Orlando.
That's a good one. I went Casey Keller, 1998.
Oh, that's a good one. That's a good call.
Yeah.
But I think like a lot of people, I took North Carolina. Like I forget who it was on Twitter that after the goal, somebody said, "There's 15 minutes left in this game. That's just enough time for North Carolina to score 4 goals." And I was like, even up until about 2 minutes left in stoppage time, I think I was in the mindset of, oh, North Carolina's just there's enough time for them to not only tie this game, but emotionally break you enough to take a second goal before the final whistle. And then about 2 minutes into 2 or 3 minutes into stoppage time, I was like, I don't think this is going to happen.
Yeah, I had that belief that they would find a way through all the way up until the end, just because of what we've seen from them. And it's one of the most impressive goalkeeper performances I have ever seen from Brett Eckerstrom, who was not the regular. Bixby had won the job and kept it during the tournament and was really good. But Eckerstrom, some of the saves she made, they were not basic, easy saves. It's an incredible performance.
It was a great advertisement for the NWSL.
Yeah, I agree.
I know it was during daytime on a Friday. Some people are back at work and weren't able to, maybe watch the whole thing. But if you were able to catch it, and if you can catch it on replay, it's a great advertisement for that league because that was 2 great teams, and then one just otherworldly performance. It was wonderful to see. Nightcap goes into penalties. I hated that it was kind of overshadowed by social media.
A little bit.
Man.
Yeah, there was some social media drama, and now that the Dash are continuing on, there could be more from that, and we will see what lineup choices are made. Katie Stengel was not in the team, and there was some back and forth with differing things going on Instagram pages, and go do the digging. We're not going to spoil it for you. We don't want to give you the spoilers,
no.
But yeah, it was something. I want to get your take, too, on the expansion announcement from Major League Soccer yesterday. So, Austin is happening next year. Charlotte has signed a player, but is going to be pushed back a year to 22. And St. Louis and Sacramento will be pushed back a year to 23. So there will be an odd number of teams next year with Austin in, but not Charlotte yet.
Yeah, financially, I think is where you're looking at, for at least for me, to make sense.
Yeah.
Is we don't know what situation the league is going to be in financially after this tournament. Love to see what the bottom line is on this tournament, and the cost versus revenue, and ultimately like any profit you get off of this. And I know there are sports economists who know a lot more than I do, who can really dig into the idea of debt load with not just MLS but all these leagues. And I think it would be really tough to ask a team to put everything together in the middle of all of this, because I believe it was St. Louis talked about the difficulty in getting staffing, and you're going to be paying staff, and you're not necessarily going to be bringing in gate revenue, which is where a lot of Major League Soccer teams are going to make their money. It's a really tough ask. I think it is better just punt it for a year. We're going to save some money on the front end doing that. It also gives you another year to get all your ducks in a row. And a side effect of this, I think, is you're going to raise expectations for all those teams, because now your book report is due. Just kidding, it's due in a month. You have an extra month to get it done. I hope I see something better than what you would have turned in right now that you know that the timeline has been pushed back a year.
Kefsi's right there with you on that. I mean, actually, as you were saying it, Kefsi was typing it. Does it mean higher expectations when they join? I don't know. Until we get there and we see what the long-term effects of the coronavirus pandemic are going to be on the financials of sports as a whole, it's hard to say. It could, in some ways, lower the expectations, because things could just be different in general by the time we get there. One thing that was pointed out, I believe it was by Twelman and Champion during their halftime conversation about this, or pregame, I can't remember. They were filling time because of delayed kickoff due to some storms. They made the point, and it's 100% accurate, that Austin did bring a lot of staff from Columbus. I mean, if you remember the way all that went down, Austin is technically the continuation of the Columbus Crew franchise, and technically on paper, the Columbus Crew are a new team. Now, the players stayed with the Crew in Columbus, but the franchise on paper went to Austin. So some of the staff also went to Austin. So they're running. They're good. They don't need to really make a whole bunch of hires except for game day and stuff like that they would be making later anyway. So they're fine. Charlotte has made a lot of hires. I'm honestly a little surprised that Charlotte held off, but it's hard right now. It's hard to predict it, and if you have any trepidation, wait, get everything right, and then come in when you're ready. So I get it. I'm okay with it. The next two I totally understand, because they're building stadiums. And the other point that Twelman made that is a huge part of this is in Texas, they've been able to work and build the stadium. And Austin Stadium will be ready to go for next year. St. Louis and Sacramento have had delays on building because they have not been able to work. Construction crews have not been able to work on those stadiums. And you need those teams to come in their new stadiums. You don't need them to play in a temporary venue. So I get it. I think we're going to see things like this in all sports that are just reactions to the pandemic that none of us can really call at the moment.
Yeah.
I think Jarrett's turning full robot on us again. It's always an adventure with Jarrett. I don't know whose technology is worse, John's or Jarrett's. Sometimes it's a back and forth battle. We'll see if Jarrett's phone starts to work again in a minute. Nope, thought I heard him trying to break through. Let's get into the conversation on Twitch going on right now. Our friend Adam from 816.
So it'll be really interesting to see.
Sorry, Jarrett, you're breaking in and out, and I don't know what's going on with your phone.
I don't either. It's okay.
Okay.
I stole John's phone. That's where we're at.
There we go. Let's get into Adam from 816's question on Twitch. Unreal inconsistency from Sporting Kansas City so far. Kyrie Shelton has been a bright spot, though. He seems a lot sharper and clinical since his return from Germany. He was with Paderborn in 2019. Didn't play a ton, but was over there. Should more people in U.S. men's national team circles be talking about Kyrie Shelton? He just turned 27. If he was 23, like Chris Mueller, would the conversation be different? Should it be? I 100% think the conversation would be different. I'm with where I think Adam is taking it, in that it shouldn't be different. He's 27. He's played for youth national team, so he has some international experience. He's got speed and quickness that we don't have a lot of players in that role that have. And if he is in this kind of form, yeah, he should get called up. I absolutely agree he should be called up. What do you think of Kyrie Shelton, Jarrett?
I think age is one of those things that's kind of up in the air. I mean, guys get their shots at different ages. We saw Dom Dwyer get capped at the U.S. national team at a little bit older age than some of these guys who have the hype, and that's when, Dom is, in the Kansas City days where, he hadn't hit that, I guess we can call it a cliff in his career. It's one of those things. I think I think this is a mentality thing of any time there's any kind of tournament and somebody just goes the hell off, we immediately start thinking about national team. And we do it in the season, but I feel like it is more intensified in tournaments.
Yeah, true. And I think it's done more with players who are younger too. It's just this idea that if it's an 18-year-old, whoa, forget it. I mean, let's go to the George Bello conversation real quick, because what has been the general vibe from a lot of people, not just locally but nationally, when George Bello gets brought up? Coming into the season, coming into this tournament, it's like, I don't know who Atlanta's going to start on the left. It's George Bello. It's going to be George Bello. He's healthy. It's going to be George Bello. He's been injured. I don't know. Then he plays well in game 1. And then when he isn't in the team in game 2, everybody freaks out. Like, how can you do that? He has to be in the team. Well, like 2 weeks ago, you were saying you didn't even think he should play. So, whatever. Young players get that bounce faster than guys who are 27. Shouldn't make a difference. I think what you see with maybe more mature soccer countries is that if a guy's performing, he should be playing for the national team. If he's not performing, unless he is, in this case, Christian Pulisic, he might be the only one for the U.S., to be honest. Unless you're that guy, yeah, if you're performing, you play. If you're not performing, you don't play. I want to see more of that.
Yeah, it needs to be a more of a binary situation like that, where it's great that you have some guys who have that hype, but you actually have to show it off. And not to say that everyone turns into a Freddie Adu, because that is such an extreme example in terms of hype and then return. And I like to remind people that there was a time during, I think it was during World Cup qualifying or Gold Cup, where Freddie Adu had a resurgence.
Gold Cup 2011. He was great.
Thank you. He was amazing. And you're like, Freddie Adu is kind of coming good.
He's back.
I mean, yeah, it was such a wild time to be alive.
He's back, and then 3 years later, he turned down a contract to come play for the Atlanta Silverbacks to not play. Eric Winalda, and maybe this is breaking news. It's not breaking. It's 6 years old. But Eric Winalda wanted to bring Freddie Adu to the Atlanta Silverbacks in 2014, and deal was turned down. Was that your jaw hitting the floor?
That's amazing.
Yeah, that's
amazing, because that's also the era of the Eric Winalda Silverbacks were just. I want a mini 30 for 30 about the Eric Winalda era Silverbacks.
Oh yeah, it would be an amazing time because of what happened, but also some of the things that wanted to happen. I mean, you go back and look. So 2011. And I don't want to sidetrack this too much, but this is what happens occasionally when Jarrett hops on. So 2011, he has that great Gold Cup in the summer. He's with the Philadelphia Union. Freddie played 35 games in 3 years for the Union. Good and bad, up and down, all over the place. He went out to Bahia after that in 2013, I guess in the second half of the year. In April. No, he was let go early in 2013 by Philadelphia. It was a move to bring Kleberson to Philadelphia. So he was with Bahia in Brazil for 5 months. This is summer of 2013. 2014, he was nowhere. He trained with Blackpool. They didn't offer him a contract by the end of February. He kept training to work on his fitness. That's when he was offered the deal here in Atlanta, when the Blackpool thing fell through. Didn't take it. He trained with Bob Bradley Stabæk in Norway. He went on trial to AZ in the Netherlands in July. Didn't earn a contract with either one of those spots. And then he went to Serbia in July of 2014. Instead of coming to the Silverbacks and playing here, he went to Serbia. And what's, I guess, most maddening about it is in July of 2015, he did come to the NASL and played for Tampa Bay. Gah. Serbia and Finland instead of coming to play for the Atlanta Silverbacks.
I mean, it might have been one of those things where he just decided, I'm just going to go, like, try this and then get proven to me that it's not going to work there before I can come to NASL. I don't know.
I don't know. You go from training at Blackpool to Stabæk to AZ, then to FK Jagodina in Serbia, where you sign a deal. Played one time. They didn't renew his 6-month contract. Then he was linked to Sweden, didn't go to Sweden, went to Finland instead, played some games for the reserve team in the 3rd division in Finland, and he opted to terminate his contract, and then he came to the Tampa Bay Rowdies. I did not know, though, and I don't know if this is true. According to Wikipedia, he went on trial with Portland in 2017. I don't remember that. He did play a little bit for Winalda in Las Vegas. No, it was before Winalda in Vegas. He played for El Chelis in Vegas, and he played 14 times in 2018. And that's it for Freddie Adu at 31 years old.
31, good God. Like, that makes me feel old, and I'm like, because I am 31, but like the hype has lasted for that long, you know. I guess that's why it makes me feel old.
It's crazy. Kessie says that's a weird ferry that takes you from Helsinki to Stockholm. Avoid it. Let's go back to Adam from 816, since we've went round and round and round, and we went down the Freddie Adu rabbit hole. Kyrie Shelton, I do think should get a look. I really do. He gives you speed and quickness, and I think a more complete game. And that's something that Adam said, seeing him before he went to Paderborn and then coming back. He feels like a more complete player. And I agree. I think he's ready for that opportunity. I'd like to see him mix in with the national team level play.
Yeah, give me more of that. Give me more like national team like opportunities, and like prove it to me that, you know, get into camp. And that's the other thing is like, yes, he deserves a shot at the national team, but just because you deserve a shot at the national team doesn't mean that you're automatically given one. I think it is a multi-step process of like, you're playing well enough to go to camp with the national team, but now you have to prove it to me for you to finish off that dream. Just because, you know, like, just because you're going nuts doesn't mean I want to be giving you automatically like a ticket to the national team.
Yeah, I agree. I want to see guys earn it more, and I think the depth of quality is better than it's been. And this has been my conversation with a lot of people, in that, you know, people said like the last cycle the team wasn't good at all, and Jurgen Klinsmann had nothing to work with, and then you just didn't have good enough players. I don't think you had a Landon Donovan or Clint Dempsey in that group, although now you do with Christian Pulisic's emergence. He was not that in 2017. He has become that now. But you had more depth and more options at every position. The level overall has improved. But you see it in every country. Sometimes you don't have those superstars come through, and that can hurt you. But in the U.S. case, it wasn't about they don't have players to choose. They did, but they didn't have those superstars to build around. And I think Klinsmann made wrong choices in tactics and players. And I think Bruce Arena got the tactics wrong in Trinidad. He got the tactics wrong against Costa Rica at Red Bull Arena. And that was the issue. It wasn't the talent level. It wasn't the pool. To have a player like Kyrie Shelton, to have a player like Chris Mueller play well in this tournament and put themselves into that conversation, I think that shows you that the level of the pool is very, very good. And now it's down to Greg Berhalter picking the right players to play and the right tactics to get the best out of them.
Well, he also, he seems to have been doing that in Orlando, and I think it is funny, and I don't know if you guys have covered this because I haven't been able to keep up with everything, but incidentally, Brad Guzan may have found his way into a national team starting spot again just because of the way the goalkeeping pool is going. Now, whether or not other guys deserve to be in that conversation, they absolutely do. You're always going to have those guys, but you want the guy who's in form, and I know Americans love Zach Steffen. I need Zach Steffen on the field before I put him in goal for a national team.
Yeah. Zach Steffen, the talk out of Manchester, where he's under contract to Manchester City, is actually fairly promising for him to stick around Manchester next year. He's not going to play a ton, and I think that's the question for Pep Guardiola and the sporting team at Manchester City is, Zach Steffen at this point in his career, is he better to be with the first team, get cup games, get a game here and there, but train every day with the first team and improve his distribution, improve on the ball, the things that Guardiola is going to look for out of a goalkeeper? Is he going to improve more doing that, not playing as much, or does he need to go on loan somewhere to play, but play in a system where he can still work on distribution and technical ability? At his age, I don't know. I think he's played plenty. I don't think he's a young guy who just has to play games to play games. But can the training and the occasional game here and there be enough to continue developing him? And for the U.S., can it be enough to keep him sharp when he's brought in for World Cup qualifiers, Gold Cup, etc.?
What else we got in the way of questions?
Yeah, Brad Guzan will be playing, and he'll be sharp, and he's looked sharp, and he's looked good in this tournament. So I think knowing that, you want what's best for Steffen in the long term. I don't think Brad Guzan in goal for the U.S. men's national team is in any way a step back. You throwing things again, Jarrett? You're not torturing cats today, are you?
No, it's not. No. It's not a step back, though. It's a matter of, it's just a matter of putting the hot hand in there, I think, at the right time. And we've seen what happens when you have the hot hand in at the right time. We've watched guys who can carry situations like that.
Oh, and there goes Jarrett. Oh, it's one of those shows. Y'all on Twitch, if you have questions, throw them my way. If you're on Twitter, you can throw some questions. I got a few more minutes to hang out with you guys solo because it's been, yeah. I've had this question come up about having more people on the show and doing more things, and it's not always easy. It's not always easy, and everybody's got work and jobs, and some have technological difficulties, and it happens. It's all good. We roll with it. Kefsy's got some questions. He's thinking about it. All right. Atlanta United 2 tonight. I'm looking forward to seeing a very young group on the field. Their lineup in Tampa Bay last weekend had an average age of just over 20. I want to see Coleman Gannon. Liked what I saw from him. I want to continue to see Will Riley because I think he's an MLS player. I think he might be the next homegrown signing. Jackson Conway, want to continue to see him as well. I'm looking forward to the twos tonight. They're playing Memphis coming off short rest. I'll be curious to see if we see Tim Howard in goal tonight for Memphis. He didn't look great against Birmingham. Looked a little frustrated as well. But you look at these two teams, and Atlanta will have a lineup, that average age of around 20 probably is a safe bet. Memphis has a lot of veteran players. You've got Trinidad and Tobago national team players in Memphis' squad. You've got guys with MLS experience in Memphis' squad. You also got Cal Jennings from Roswell High School, who has just signed with Memphis, and I want to see him at this level. He's been one of the best goal scorers in college soccer over the last 4 years. I want to see if he can make that jump to the next level. All right, questions on Twitch. Ricky Ricardo. Berhalter could use some goodwill among the Atlanta faithful. Ain't that the truth? He's got to be looking at Brooks Lennon. Brooks Lennon has been, in my mind, outstanding in this tournament. I think Brooks Lennon deserves an opportunity with the full national team. He's been that good. Crossing needs to continue to improve. It does. But I like his game. I love his work rate. I like his 1v1 ability. I think he can fit into Berhalter's U.S. men's national team. I think he can play. We've seen Berhalter try to do that right back. Yes, we're reading each other's mind, Ricky. I think Brooks can play that right back role that Berhalter experimented with a little bit, where the right back tucked inside to play as a holding midfielder at times. I think Brooks has that ability. Defensively, I think he's solid. I do. I think it's just his being a little more productive in the final third, which is kind of weird coming from a guy who grew up as a winger and has been converted into an outside back or wing back. But yeah, just more quality. And I think maybe some of it is the difference in mentality. One big holdover from Tata Martino, Atlanta United, to Frank de Boer, Atlanta United, is the crossing and the way you want the crossing. And a lot of this is down to Joseph Martinez and getting the best out of him. You do see a lot of aerial crosses. But think about how often you see that cut back on the ground cross to the top of the 18. Take the ball to the end line, cut it back on the ground to pick out the runner. That's a little different. That's not something that a lot of teams really work to find that movement. Atlanta always has. And I think Brooks needs to get a little more into that mindset of not always just trying to whip in a cross, not always just trying to hit one to the back post. Look sometimes for that near post, but a lot of times look for that pullback on the ground for a runner. This team's built to have those runners coming into the 18 late. Kessie, please tell me that it's a joke that someone would hire a plane for a message prior or during Atlanta-Columbus. I would hope so. I mean, we had this conversation about Ronnie Dyla, and it's too early to make any decisions about Ronnie Dyla. Ronnie Dyla's got no trophies with New York City. If that's what the plane's about, that's ridiculous. If it's just a plane to say, Atlanta fans are with you, et cetera, for the players, as we've seen at least a couple teams did. I want to say Seattle fans did that, but I might be wrong. I understand the frustration, and I've seen some of the responses to yesterday's show. I get it. I understand it. I think it's a little much. Actually, I think it's a lot much, because you're not getting blown out in these games. You've given up a world-class goal to Amaya. You gave up a goal in transition to the Red Bulls. That's it. Defensively, it can be better, but it's not even bad. Offensively, you're missing Joseph Martinez. That's going to hurt you no matter what. And you had a red card in the 26th minute. There's just no other way around that. It happened. It affects the rest of the game. It's not an excuse. It's real. It's reality. It changes everything. So it's hard to say that, this team's just terrible without Joseph. A lot of teams would be, by the way. Take Lionel Messi out of Barcelona. What do they have? Even with all their talent, they're not the same. Take Cristiano Ronaldo out of Juventus. They're not the same. It's not easy, and it takes some time. And You normally get a bunch of games to do that. You didn't have that this time. You had a stoppage, and now you're starting to figure it out and find out what that movement is. I do really want to see Adam John. I think Adam John makes things click a little bit better for this team. It's different than Joseph, but it's also a little more simple and basic. And right now, as you're trying to find your footing, that might be the approach. That might be the way to go. Just a thought on my end. Adam from 816 said, is Miles Robinson a good fit with John Brooks? I think so. I think they can work really well together. Miles, you see it here with Atlanta a lot, especially the way they're playing right now. Miles is the central of the three, and he hangs back to allow Meza and Escobar to be very aggressive. He also hangs back because even playing a high line, which Atlanta wants to do to compress the field, he's got the speed to run with any forward. I think any forward in CONCACAF. So Brooks can be a little more aggressive. Brooks can be a little more physical. And Robinson can be everything you need him to be. I think he's a complete center back. So he can win things in the air. His leaping ability is ridiculous. He's good on the ball and getting better, it feels like, every day. I think he's a national team level player, and I think he is the best partner for Brooks. I think he's a better option than Long. I think he's a much better option than Parker. And I think he's a better option than Miazga because I worry about Miazga's composure in moments. We just see too many boneheaded things. And as we saw in the Atlanta-Cincinnati game, when you get boneheaded, especially early in a match, you can change everything. So you've got to have guys with composure, and Robinson has that in spades. So I like Miles Robinson for the national team, and I do like the pairing with Brooks a lot. Let's see. Yes, Kefsey, I'm with you. If you're worked up about Atlanta United in this tournament, you can definitely spend your money better than hiring a plane for something. I'm with you. Ricky Ricardo said, what would Heinemann need to do to make that jump back to the national team? Or is the midfield too young and crowded? It's crowded, that's for sure. That's going to hurt him. I think it's, go back to the beginning of the season and how good he was because he was playing a two-way game. My question about Emerson Heinemann is, if we're talking national team, let's leave Atlanta United to the side for a second. We see this, and we've had this conversation in the NWSL, I think, throughout this tournament with a player in Midge Purse. Midge Purse is a good attacking player in NWSL, a good goal scorer. Not at the national team level. She's not going to jump over Kristen Press, Alex Morgan, I don't think Mallory Pugh. I mean, you can go down the list. Maybe she's 7 or 8 on the depth chart in her league position last year with the national team. But you put her at right back, she can jump up that list pretty quickly. Heinemann kind of falls into that role for me because I wonder if he could turn into an option as a 6 with the national team. A 6 who, you think back to Berhalter's days in Columbus with Will Trapp, who was strong on the ball, sat deep, was that fulcrum for possession. We've seen that with Michael Bradley as well. Can Emerson Heinemann be that kind of player? Can he give you enough defensively, but be that hub to start the build-up play? I think he can, and he played a deep-lying midfield role a little bit more during his time in Scotland. I'm curious to see if he wanted to be a national team level player, if that would be his best spot. Now then you bring it to the club team where he plays consistently. Is he going to play that here? It's different because of the way Atlanta United plays, but if he becomes what we've seen in the past from Jeff Larentowicz, sitting deep, protecting the back line, being that, again, that hub, that starter of the build-up play, I think he could raise his stock with the national team. You know, you've got guys like Brendan Aronson, you've got guys like Paxton Pomacall, you guys have mentioned them. You've got Weston McKennie, which I think we're still trying to figure out what his best position is. You've got Tyler Adams. I mean, you've got a ton. It's, at the moment, a long shot for Heinemann with the national team at that level, just because of the situation with so many bodies. If he becomes more of a 6, there's less competition there. And I wonder if that's his ticket. I think it would help Atlanta United as well, but I wonder if that's where his mind is in terms of becoming that kind of player. Just a thought. I really do like, and Aronson's been mentioned a couple times here. I really like Brendan Aronson's game. I liked it seeing him in USL. We talked about it when he was in the lineup at the beginning of last season for Philadelphia. Scored his first goal in MLS against Atlanta. I like his game. I like his vision. He's a special player. He's special. And I hope we see more players like him developed and cherished in this country. Because he's not Pity Martinez, for example. He's not that creative. But he's also not a typical hard-running central midfielder. You know, he's got more than that. He's got more quality. He's got more vision. He feels the game. Those things that are hard to quantify on the stat sheet, he feels it. Aronson, he's more, if you want to compare him to an Atlanta player, and I've made this comparison before with Ezequiel Barco to Juan Ramon Riquelme, where a lot of it is feel. Ricardo Bocchini for Independiente, who is a legend who kind of took Barco under his wing a little bit as he was developing at Independiente. Unorthodox kinds of players, but guys that in the right situation with the right team around them, you can get a ton out of it. Aronson in that diamond in Philadelphia, God's a perfect fit. Because he does have defensive responsibility. He can step up and press. But he's got cover with Montero and Bedoya and Jose Martinez. They're going to do all the dirty work. Aronson's going to be able to get goals and also get goals for others. So I love Brendan Aronson's game. He's one of the players that excites me coming through the young national team pool. And Pomacall, and maybe it's a little bit because of not seeing Dallas in this tournament, I like Paxton Pomacall a lot. I love Brendan Aronson's game. I think I'm more excited about Aronson than Pomacall. And I don't know if that's the standard feel on it. Aronson's always, there's just something about him that has always grabbed my attention. Ricky says, didn't get a chance to catch the last two's game. What do we need to know about Atlanta's group and the other group they're linked with? Sorry for the large net. No, it's all good. Let me pull up so I can make sure I have everything for you. These are always kind of tough on my end, especially this time of year where we're, catching everything up and games get a little bit crowded and we haven't seen these guys in a while. This will be the first two's game that John and I call since beginning of March. So it's tough. Tough performance in Tampa Bay because of the early red card. I mean, it was a 7th-minute red card to Amir Bashti, so he's out for today. Jackson Conway got that goal in the 11th, and then they gave up 2 goals in the second half. The winner was in the 87th minute. Players to look at with this group. I would have said Bashti would have been one, but he's not available. Jackson Conway, up top, is a guy you have to look at with this team. He's young. He is a 2001. So December 2001, you're talking, 18 years old right now. He's got 22 games last year under his belt on a pro deal. But at 18, you're talking about a player who's played 34 times professionally. That's substantial. 6 goals in 22 starts. 6 goals professionally. Second division, but still. Conway he's listed at 6'2", 190 now. He might be a little bit bigger than that. Don't discount Jackson Conway long term as a guy that could be playing at Mercedes-Benz Stadium regularly and playing for U.S. youth national teams. He's played a little bit. He feels like a little bit of that late bloomer. I think he's just grown so much in the last few years, and now he's getting comfortable using his body. He's a very different kind of forward than Joseph Martinez. Maybe a little bit more in the Adam John vein, but quicker, a little more technical on the ball. Played some midfield when he was really young, when he was in the academy. I remember him playing some midfield with the U15 team a bit. So bringing that to the table, moving up top, I like his quickness. I like his quick feet. So 6 goals in 22 starts as a professional is pretty good for Jackson Conway. So that's who you're looking at up top. Would have loved to have seen George Campbell get more time here. Normally he would be getting that time, but he's in the bubble in Orlando. You're not going back and forth at the moment. So on the back line, you're looking at, and I'm talking first about the younger players before we get into the veterans around them. Garrison Tubbs is an academy player, committed to go to college. He is in that vein of where George Campbell can be a Miles Robinson, Eddie Pope. Trying to compare him. I mean, God, you want a bigger, broader comparison to Sergio Ramos, kind of center back who is physical but really strong with the ball at their feet. Long legs, quick, covers a ton of ground. Tubbs is a little bit further behind Campbell. Campbell's development has been one of the success stories of the academy. To go from where he was to playing in MLS in such a short period of time, it's a credit to the twos, it's a credit to Glassy, it's a credit to Tony Annan, it's a credit to the whole club in the development tool and the development pathway. Tubbs could be that next center back in that conversation. He's still got more work to do, but he has all of those characteristics of what you're looking for a center back in an Atlanta United shirt. He's just a little bit younger, a little less experience. He's getting that experience now. And with college being completely up in the air at the moment, he might get more experience with Atlanta United too than expected. You know, you might not have college soccer this fall. He might get to stay and play and not enroll yet. That might give him the opportunity to earn himself a homegrown deal, or at a minimum, earn an Atlanta United 2 deal, which we've seen Atlanta United use that as a way for guys who maybe aren't quite ready for that homegrown deal yet, sign them to a pro deal with the twos, and then they can then sign that homegrown deal with the first team later, or just sign with the first team. You've got that possibility. Other guys to keep an eye on, Will Riley is one that we've talked about a few times on the show. Holding midfielder. Stephen Glass loves him as a player. What has grabbed me about him is his leadership, even at the USL championship level. He's young. He's, let's get his age for you. I want to make sure I've got it right. He is a 2002, so he is even younger, a December 2002. So he is 17 right now, turns 18 at the end of the year. And he's got 12 games and 7 starts under his belt. He started both games this year. Really strong on the ball, dynamic on the ball. I don't know if he's going to be a 6 or an 8 yet. I think he's going to be in that central midfield. He fits the 3-4-3 that Atlanta plays like a glove. He's perfect for that. So Will Riley's another one that maybe is the next in line for that homegrown deal. He's one you got to look at. Coleman Gannon is a newcomer to this group. Hasn't been in the academy quite as long, but came on as a sub against Charleston in game number 1. Started in Tampa Bay. He is a 2003 November birthday. So now you're getting even younger with Coleman Gannon. He's played 117 minutes. He assisted on Conway's goal last week. He is fearless. He is a player who will run at anybody. Doesn't care if it's Mark Birch for Memphis, who is, a guy with 250 plus MLS games under his belt, late 30s, captain of Memphis 901. Gannon doesn't care. He doesn't care who you are. He thinks he can beat you. I love his confidence. I love his swagger on the field. He is scrappy. Very skilled. Very, very skilled. Gannon is one to watch in the long run. Some other players to look at, looking at the starting lineup from last week as you get ready for Atlanta United 2 tonight. Ben Lundgaard has started both games in goal. Reminds me of Brad Gazan, that kind of goalkeeper. He's had some time in MLS. He's been loaned out to other clubs. Big, vocal goalkeeper. And I think he could be one long-term to work his way into a pro deal here. I really do. I think he's got that ability. Goalkeepers maybe come good a little bit later than other positions on the field. So Lundgaard has plenty of time ahead of him. Jack Gurr has started both games. Right wing back, can bomb up and down the right side. Feels like he never gets tired. Player came from Georgia Gwinnett College. Played some with the Georgia Revolution in the NPSL. Gurr's a fun player to watch. He is the classic wingback. Madhu Jadama coming home. Good experience in USL from him. Leader with this group. You pair him with Tubbs in the back, and it gives the team a strong pairing back there, and he helps Tubbs a lot as he's kind of easing into his professional time. Philip Goodrum is another one, player who was drafted in the second round, signed a USL deal instead of signing an MLS deal. Goodrum has been playing up top at times before Conway was ready to go. He had a foot injury in preseason. But Goodrum can also drift out to the flank. Pretty creative player. Could be one of those late bloomers out of the college game that surprises you a bit. Really good fit with this group, though. I like his ability on the ball in moments. You won't see Bashti tonight, but if Bashti can get more consistency, he can be an MLS talent. He has some unbelievable talent at moments. He's got a great first touch, capable of spectacular moments, but he also drifts out of matches at times, and you're looking for consistency from him to get to that next level. Caleb Wiley is another young player, Matthew Edwards, from the academy that I don't know that well, and I'm looking forward to seeing. Wiley is the youngest of the group. We've talked about what year these guys are. Let's get Caleb Wiley for you. Caleb Wiley is a 2004, December of 2004. So you're talking about a player who is extremely young, getting opportunities in USL Championship. You're talking about a player who, including last season, 7 appearances, 5 starts, over 400 minutes played. These are the times that you get to see what these players can turn into. Matthew Edwards came over from Charlotte. He was in their academy, played a couple of times as an academy player for them last year. So he's a 2003, by the way, a February 2003. So he's 17. Young team for Atlanta United 2 tonight. It's going to be fun. 7:30 kick, ESPN Plus against Memphis 901. Players from Memphis, Tim Howard I mentioned, Mark Birch I mentioned. Brandon Allen has been one of the leading goal scorers in USL Championship over the last few years. He's bounced around clubs, but he's a threat up top for them. I want to see Jose Baxter. He's a player with a lot of experience in England who has come over, played with Howard at Everton before he bounced around the lower divisions. I want to see how he translates here. He played about 60 minutes on Wednesday in Birmingham. Memphis didn't look good on Wednesday. They're going to come in a little tired. Atlanta looked good even with 10 men last weekend. I think Atlanta can get out and run and quicken the pace against Memphis. They're going to have problems keeping up. It's going to be down to maturity in some moments, and that's where these young players are going to have to learn fast because you're going up against grown men. You're going up against seasoned professionals, and you've got players who are 15, 16, 17, 18 who have some experience professionally, but not much, going up against the likes of a guy with 200 plus appearances in England's League One, a guy with 250 plus appearances in Major League Soccer, guys who were on the field for Trinidad and Tobago when they beat the U.S. in 2017. That's an interesting matchup, so it's going to be fun to break it down and talk about it with you guys today. That's going to do it for me. Oh, Cassie said, what's wrong with Bashty? Red card in Tampa Bay, so he won't be available. So thanks for the questions, especially towards the end. Thanks for hanging out and making this be a somewhat normal show, even with John disappearing and Jarrett disappearing and turning into robots, and, it happens. So we won't be live at 9 o'clock on Monday. We'll be at 11:30 after that Miami-New York City game that Atlanta United is hoping for a draw. That would take one group out of the equation if Atlanta can get the win against Columbus on Tuesday. We'll catch you up on Monday about everything with NWSL. 12:30 kick this afternoon for Game 1, 10 o'clock for Game 2. I'm going to go with Washington in the win, and I'm going to go with the Red Stars in the win as well, but maybe that one goes to penalties. So I'll go Washington and Chicago getting through. MLS games tonight, tomorrow evening, and then early on Monday before we're back with you. And the twos tonight on ESPN+. Thanks for hanging out. We will be talking to y'all on Monday. Mucha plata, y'all.